from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased joining me from the US, Nick Jain. Nick, thank you very much for being with me on the show today. As I was explaining to you before actually we started today's episode, that the way I love to do it, I like to keep it to my guests to introduce themselves. So tell us a little bit more about you, your journey, and what you're currently up to. And then, of course, we have plenty of topics to discuss with you today. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So my name's Nick. I'm the CEO of IdeaScale, which is a B2B SaaS company that makes innovation management software. We've been in business about 15 years and have hundreds of clients across the world. The US Coast Guard, US Post Office, Comcast, Pfizer, many organizations all over the world, including the Middle East, Asia, Africa, Latin America, et cetera. In terms of my personal background, I grew up in a mix of India and Canada, did my undergraduate at Dartmouth in mathematics and physics, and then got my MBA from Harvard Business School, where I was a Baker Scholar. First half of my career was on Wall Street as a professional investor. And for the past 5 or so years, I've been a professional CEO. I've run a $100 million revenue trucking company, a $2 million men's shoe company. And now I'm really excited to be at IdeaScale, which is the definitive innovation management software on the planet.
That's great. And thank you again, Nick, for, I know as a CEO and founder how busy things can get, and a lot of things happening in your space. So again, thank you again for being with me here today. Now, the first thing I would love to start the discussion with today, Nick, is the idea of starting your current business, and especially you mentioned it's all about innovation. So what was the main, I would say, opportunity, I would like to call it, not a challenge, that you saw in the marketplace that led you to leave, the investment world and come to the B2B SaaS world?
Sure. I just want to clarify, I did not found IdeaScale. We've been around about 15 years, and I was brought on as a CEO about 2 years ago. But I can talk a little bit about why IdeaScale was founded. Our two co-founders, Rob Hohen and Viv Paskaran, about 15 years ago, they realized that large, complex organizations were really struggling with how do we innovate rather than counting on random ideas popping up from random people. And so they created this organization, or the software company, that really helps large organizations figure out where all the cool ideas are within their organization, figure out which ideas are good and which ideas are less effective, and turn the best ideas into reality, which is something that large organizations really don't do well today.
That's fantastic, Nick. I'm sorry for them, for that small mistake, I would say, from my side, but that's fine. I'm very transparent, and the audience know this. Now, innovation by itself, it's something every company they aim for that. How have you seen, especially in the recent, I would say 1 year or so, because everything started to accelerate with AI. Of course, we're going to talk about AI later, but what have you seen, the main motives for companies to drive innovation and, to try to do things in different ways that they are doing it currently?
Sure. I would say there's two things that have happened. Number one is that the speed of the innovation cycle has increased. So 30 years ago, you didn't have to innovate as quickly as you do today. Today, if you're an organization, whether you're a government entity or a private sector organization, your competitors are innovating much more quickly. And so you have to. There's this greater appreciation that if you don't innovate, your competitors are and you fall behind. So that's number one. Number two is, I think there's been a greater value shift within organizations, especially large ones, that have realized, look, in order to be creating value for our customers, We need to be doing things better each day. It's not good enough that to say we are great. We still want to be better tomorrow. And that's a philosophical shift that has occurred and is occurring throughout the world.
Now, one thing I want to ask you, Nick, which is how much, because we hear this term too much, and from, what you have seen so far, this requires from organizations to have what we call it innovation culture, right? So whether they are a small startup or large organizations. So from your point of view, how do you think not only building the culture, but actually sustaining the culture, uh, how do you have you seen, the successful ones have done it? I would ask you this way.
Sure. I think there's four things that any organization needs to build and sustain a culture. Number one is someone near the top has to say, we actually care about innovation. If that doesn't happen, an organization doesn't proceed down the path to becoming innovative. That's step one. But once you have that initial desire to be innovative, you need three things. Number one, you need innovation to be declared as an actual core value of the business alongside whatever your other core values of the business are in your mission statement. Number two, you need the right incentives for people to actually want to innovate. A lot of organizations actually disincentivize people from becoming innovative. And number three, you need the right technology and processes. You can have great people, but if you don't create technology and processes that actually enable them to be creative and innovative, then they can't. It's like sending a carpenter to a work site without a hammer and a saw. He or she could be the greatest carpenter in the world, and yet they can't actually go do carpentry without the right tools in front of them.
Now, let me ask you this question, Nick. Whose responsibility it is? Like, is it the people who works with it? Because when we say innovation, mainly it's gonna be driven by technology also as well. So is it like the technology department mission? Is it like the board mission? Who you would recommend, I would say, to drive this innovation?
Sure. So I don't think the board's job is to drive innovation. Their job is to hold the executive team accountable for driving innovation. It's really at the ultimate accountability for any organization sits at the C level. They are responsible for making sure the organization moves ahead. But once you've achieved that philosophical idea that or value system that we are going to be innovative as an organization, I think there's two types of groups of people who are responsible for actually going out there to achieve innovation. Number one are the decision makers of the organization, whether that be junior managers, senior managers, executives. And number two is everyone throughout the organization who is actually given a good incentive to be innovative. And that can include blue collar line workers in a trucking company, or it can include all the way up to the R&D and senior technology executives within an organization, right? Every organization needs to innovate, whether you're a government organization that's delivering driver's licenses to people, whether you're a pharmaceutical company that's inventing new drugs, whether you're a technology company that's building new features. Everyone needs to innovate. And the way that innovation happens within that organization slightly depends on the characteristic and industry of that organization.
Makes sense to me. Now, and the audience, they know this. So for the sake of transparency, I would say. So we are recording on the 18th of September. So probably it's going to go out by end of September or beginning of October when they are listening or watching us. So today, I've read an article which really attracted my attention. And, like it came the right time that I'm talking to you today, Nick, where I've seen a study done by IBM saying that, when actually, this is why I didn't actually like the wording, because they said IT failed business executives and they are not happy with their technology departments. And my opinion is, and I want to hear your opinion on that, and it's regarding innovation actually and business transformation at the same time. So they said, like, because they think that technology departments, or what I don't like the IT word. And the reason is, I think IT, information technology, is so outdated. It was fit for, when we start to collect information in our machines, but nevertheless, we have that today. So it should be the technology department. So what I want to ask you, Nick, from leadership perspective within the technology department, do you think, they were facing certain challenges that I would say, slowed them down from adapting innovation? Or do you think they were too much into the nitty gritty of the technology itself without focusing on the business outcomes? How do you, I would say, comment on this study, and what's your point of view?
So I very much agree with much of what you said and want to provide some historical context. If we roll back the clock 30 years ago, the chief technology officers, the technology departments were back office. Their job was get some computers and network up and running, get email up and running, and make sure our data doesn't get hacked. They weren't considered a core part of a business. But as we roll forward to 2024, we know that if your company doesn't have good technology, then you're screwed. And that can apply to whether you're an oil company, a pharmaceutical company, et cetera. Technology has now become a core part of the executive team, which is why you move from technology being a back office in companies to actually sitting in the boardroom alongside the CEO and CFO, because in almost any industry, technology now matters. What that's resulted in is a change in incentives and a change in dynamics. 30 years ago, the technology department was a cost center and a security risk. That's all your job was. Minimize costs and don't get hacked. Today, a lot of, especially forward-thinking organizations are realizing technology is a core competency, no different than marketing, sales, operations. And we need a powerful leader in place in our technology department who is aligned to forwarding the business's goals or organization's goals, not just minimizing costs. And that's resulted in a different caliber of a leader, as well as a different incentives and goals for those leaders now that hold the CTO title than 30 years ago.
Now, like, not as they say, like, being the devil advocate, and like, this is maybe something uh, we heard about before. So someone can say, yeah, like, we had all these good ideas, we had like all these things that we were telling the business, but the company wasn't investing in innovation, right? So is this a really valid thing, you think, or is it something, we should accept that we were not up to the leadership level that we should have, you know, have acquired, I would say, to go to the business and say, hey, like, now, of course, in the virtual sense, like, put our fist on the table and say, hey, listen, we have a problem here. We need to do something about it. What do you think?
So, look, if an organization is not willing to invest in innovation, whether that be in the CTO department or any other department, that is ultimately their choice. But I always come back to a core thing I believe in, which is if you're not innovating, remember that your competitors are, right? So if you're not investing in your technology department or any other aspect of your business, if your competitors are, and if your competitors have realized that having a good technology department, whether you call it information technology department, and they have invested in that and they're getting ahead, it may not hurt you today, but it's certainly going to hurt you tomorrow. And so any good leader now sitting in the C-suite, any good CEO and CFO, they're starting to think of technology not as a cost center, but as a core operational capability. And if they're not, their competitors are getting ahead of them and they're losing the race every day.
Absolutely. This is, exactly what my thoughts were like when I read the article. And yeah, I said, like, the biggest issue, to your point, is like the technology department or IT department, whatever people, if they still feel they need to call it IT, it's fine. Um, yeah, it's been always seen as a cost center. 100% agree with you on that. And, to your point, I like, in the previous answer you gave, it's like, yeah, just get the emails up and running, get the network up and running, and make sure that we don't get hacked, which is true, by the way. But yeah, I'm a big believer that, and I'm being like advocate for this because I've been in that seat for some years in my career, and I was always saying that, you know technology departments should be treated, or actually they should prove also to the business that, hey, we're not a cost center. Of course, we have our own costs, which is normal, like any other department in the business, but also we can, like, be even revenue generating if we're allowed to do the things in the way we could do. And there's a famous say that every company should become a technology company, and I think the ones who manage to do this, and the rest is history, as they say. Now, on the point of transformation from pure business perspective, Nick, right? So, uh, and you've done this in your career like multiple times, right? So, what are like the areas you would focus more from outcome perspective? Is it like the customers, the employees, the shareholders, or all of them? But how you do this balance actually to have what you are aiming for from business transformation perspective is coming out across the board for all these, you know, segments, I would say, customers, employees, and shareholders.
Sure. So those are exactly I love how you said customers, employees, shareholders. Those are the three constituents I always talk about for a private business. The whole point of any private company, whether you're based in China, Dubai, the United States, is your private company is creating value for your customers, your employees, and your shareholders. And you have to create value for all three. Otherwise, your three-legged stool falls down. When I come into a business, there's three areas that I really focus on that I believe helps you achieve that goal of transforming your business and creating value for everyone involved. Number one is the decision-making process. A lot of organizations make decisions based on gut feel or who's the most senior or who yells the loudest. That's the wrong way to make decisions. Decisions should be made on a consistent, analytical, data-based ROI framework, return on investment. When you're investing in your IT department or your sales and marketing department or your operations department, you're making an investment and you should demand returns for it as a leader. And that those determinants are not qualitative, but in fact can be quantified. That's number one. Be analytical about ROI positive decisions. Number two is make sure you're delivering differentiated value to your customers, right? If you're not creating value for your customers in a way that is different and better for your competition, it's a race to the ball. And number three is be transparent and clear to your organization about what that organization's goals are and be the best at achieving those goals. A lot of organizations try and do so many things because their goals aren't clear or people are headed in different directions. Just go figure out what that one thing that you want to be great at as an organization is and go do that and make sure every one of your departments and people are focused on that one mission.
I think happens, Nick, when people falls in the trap of just following a trend for the sake of following the trend, right?
Yeah. So I get asked, as a technology company, what are we doing with AI? Because everyone has been talking about AI and software for the last 18 months. And we've done a little, but we haven't just added AI to every marketing document and every piece of our technology because that's just trendful. And we are actually trying to build a really good product. And that doesn't mean slapping AI onto every marketing document the way a lot of other technology companies have done.
Absolutely, but it's good like you mentioned AI because actually I was trying to relate to the next topic I want to discuss with you today. But we cannot ignore that AI is becoming, I would say, more and more integrated in even our daily life. So now I can't remember a day where I didn't, for example, used one of the, Gen AI tools, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever, right? So do you see it uh, useful to introduce AI at least I would say, for brainstorming, maybe innovation within the organization, or maybe try to see if we can enhance our day-to-day business operations within an organization. Do you see this something which might be useful? Of course, I'm not talking about just like say, hey, yeah, like we're gonna use AI for this, for that. But I mean, at least start to adopt it slowly. What do you think?
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm actually a big advocate of AI. We've been adopting AI for both our operational and our software for within months of ChatGPT coming out, right? So I'm actually a big believer. I was at the gym yesterday. AI decided my workout. AI has been a key part of our sales and marketing strategy for over a year and a half now. So I believe AI creates two values for a company. Number one is it allows you to be operationally way more efficient. We're really good at marketing, search engine optimization, and sales conversations and M&A discussions because we really leverage AI in both our writing, creative, and brainstorming process internally as a company. And that's should be true for any company, whether you're selling oil, selling software, whether you're a nonprofit serving constituents. The second is how does AI integrate into your technology? And in this, I think we've been a little bit more measured than a lot of other technology companies who just incorporate AI into everything in their technologies. I think we've been careful here because one of the things AI does really well today is it frames things eloquently without necessarily being creative. And so in our specific industry, or what our technology does, is it enables organizations to be more creative and more innovative. And if you just slap AI into everything, what our software does is it won't be coming up with creative or innovative things. So we've been a little bit more measured because we want to make sure that what is coming out of our software actually is new and exciting for our organization, not just something regurgitated by AI. Now, that may change a year from now or a month from now where AI becomes more creative, but the technology is not quite there yet for application in our sector.
What's your take on everything called Copilot, Mick?
I love it. We use marketing copilots. Our engineers use software copilots. I built a small copilot for me to engage in partnership discussions with consulting firms. So I love all these copilot technologies. Whether you call them Claude or GitHub Copilot or Gemini, we use them all aggressively. And I push my employees not just to use them, but to actually take training courses in all of these technologies.
So just train on the prompts and these kinds of things,
Well,
right?
prompt engineering, but also how do you write effective APIs to talk to these technologies? How do you think about hyperparameter optimization? You may want to deploy for anybody who's in technology. Well, you can actually download Llama, which is a open source AI that you can use on your own systems, and there's a lot more tuning you can do to that than you could with let's say ChatGPT, which is a commercial AI solution.
Absolutely. It's really fascinating how things changed since 18 months or so, I would say. From on that point, I'm going back a lot to innovation because this is the space you are in today, Nick. So, but with AI, and we talk about co-pilots, so do you see like us humans, becoming more into the creativity, that brings actually the real innovation? So basically we have someone to do again, I would say the repetitive tasks maybe, or the prepare for us at least, the things that usually we used to spend a lot of time on to start taking decisions and, start brainstorming. So is this, bringing us, and do you believe that as humans, this will make our creativity, you know, putting us on a really competitive edge when it comes to innovation?
So I'd say there's three phases to it. Number one is where AI helps us or be more creative by eliminating mundane or repetitive tasks. AI is already there. You have automated, things for anything. You could do that with if this, then that logic, 5 years ago. So AI has already accomplished that. The next phase of AI and creativity is where we're in right now, phase two, which is where AI has already become more creative than let's say 90 or 95% of people. And a personal example is I'm not a very creative, artistic person, but so AI is already better than me at being creative in an artistic realm, in music or drawing or video. AI is already beating me, and is probably already beating 90 to 95% of all people in the world in almost any field of creative endeavor. So we're already there, where AI is more creative than most people. Phase three, which we're still a ways away from, is can AI be more creative than the best of all people? And I don't know whether that's a month away or 5 years away or 50 years away, but right now, sitting in that word phase two, AI allows people who are not particularly creative in an area to be more creative. So such as me, I can now be creative artistically or video wise that I couldn't have been 18 months ago. But then it is also, as you said, allowing those who are already pretty creative to co-pilot their creativity powered by AI.
Really a valid point, Nick. And what I feel personally, to be honest with you, because again, without going into the technical details how these LLMs models work, but I have, of course, there's a lot of, yeah, as people they call it, garbage in the model. I agree with that. But at the same time, you have the best ideas from the best human minds in the LLM. So what I feel sometimes, if I manage to, to communicate to this LLM, whether it's ChatGPT or any other one of these, to get to get me out of this brilliant minds ideas that are already existing there, Like I feel I have superpowers, to be honest with you, because like same as yourself, I'm, for example, on multiple things. So first, I'm not a native English speaker, so of course I don't ask GPT write me a LinkedIn post. I don't do this. So I put it, and then I said, okay, just fix it to me, proofread it to me, and then I take it, and then I say, hey, if you were, for example, this thought leader, how you would add to it and not change it. And then, it goes and brings really things that I never thought about it. And I feel like I have a conversation with the actual person that I wanted to talk to, which is really fascinating, I would say. On that point, Nick, I think, you know, to your point, and I like what you mentioned, like maybe it's after 1 month, after 5 years, but from all the things that happen, do you think we are 5 years really, or or we are like much closer to this?
So again, I think we're at phase two where AI is smarter or more capable than 90 or 95% of human beings, which is a terrifying social proposition, by the way, right? That a lot of information workers, right? People who work with their minds, whether that be consultants, bankers, already the AI is smarter than a lot of them. That's terrifying from a social point of view in terms of employment, what do people do productively, meaning in life, all that stuff. I personally am, reasonably aggressive that AI technologies will become smarter than human beings very quickly with it, right? I don't know if you saw, but just 4 or 5 days ago, OpenAI or ChatGPT released their Strawberry model, which now is able to do mathematical reasoning better than 98% of the the American International Math Competition competitors, which are the best of the best young mathematicians. I was a competitor and I'm a theoretical math guy. It can outperform, I think, 90% PhD students in their own field of expertise. So this is actually a thinking AI, not just an AI that is able to regurgitate information, but actually something that is able to logically think through things. That's really cool. So I am a big believer, and this is scary again from a social point of view, that AI is advancing much more intelligently than most people think about.
Absolutely. Just, I don't want to go and steal too much, from this conversation, but because you just mentioned the strawberry model, and this is something I expected it to happen. So it looks like with this reasoning thing, and from the way, at least how they brought it into the UI, I always keep talking, and I ask a lot of guests who are experts also in this space about the AI agents. And then, you have a kind of mm, a maestro agent, and this maestro agent, he has like couple of other agents that work and report back to the maestro. And because of this reasoning thing, they can go back and forward, and they would act as if, this is my expectation again, maybe it will happen in 1 month, to your point, maybe in 5 years, but this is how I see things going, which is really mind-blowing, as you just mentioned, Nick.
Yeah, that's
Right.
called a principal agent or a master agent model. We're already, dumb versions of those sorts of systems have been in place for about 10 years,
Right.
where you have a master controller with, several independent operatives, and they reach, rather than they reach consensus, it's consensus-based decision making. AI just enables technology or to do that in a more sophisticated fashion than was possible 10 years ago. Like, everyone talks about AI as if it's something brand new, but no, we've had some form of AI since 1960. It's just each year the AI is getting a lot smarter. And the big innovation about a year and a half ago when ChatGPT came out was now a normal person can talk to AI without needing code. And that is cool, by the way, because it makes the technology more accessible to all of us who are not software engineers and don't know how to do APIs or write Python code. But the technology is just progressively getting smarter than it was 5 years ago, and it will be smarter tomorrow than it was yesterday. And that's something really cool and exciting.
Absolutely. Like it's mind-blowing. Now, I think this, we can talk about it for hours, and it's a very, I would say, uh, it makes me like feel weird sometimes about the things. Sometimes I ask the question, I say, wow, like imagine, like, we are talking now about this, like living in the future. Now I want to shift gears a little bit, Nick, and ask you about something which you are now into the SaaS business, into the B2B software business. So what have you seen, a secret sauce kind of formula. I know there's no one, but I mean, let's say the important metrics that people should focus on for a successful and sustainable growth in this B2B software area?
Sure. So there's four. I'm coming from a professional investor where for most of my career I was actually an investor into SaaS businesses, and there's four numbers that really matter from a theoretical and practical perspective. Number one is what's your net retention rate. Number two, what's your revenue or ARR, and number three, what is your profit margin. Those are the first three, and those are backwards looking metrics to understand where your business is today and where it's been over the past year or 2 years. The forward-looking metric that smart investors should be thinking about is the incremental return on the incremental return on investment, which is, okay, the company is about to spend money on a marketing campaign or a new chief product officer, a new technology or M&A. How much return is that going to generate over the next several years? So if you have those four numbers and really understand them and are effectively managing them, you're really running your business well.
That makes sense, especially, the NRR, I think it's underrated, I would say, because people focus more on the ARR, but you can't have the real growth if you're not, retaining your customers, and you have like a large churn also as well. So 100% on this one. Um, how have you seen, of course, this is, we talk about these numbers. So probably these companies, they have found, the proper product market fit, and they are aiming to go into the profitability area. Some people or some founders who are like in still early stage phases, I would say. Um, and this is maybe coming back to the innovation thing. So how they could manage from your perspective this need to show profitability or growth at least, and at the same time, do the innovation that they need to do. So how do you see this balance, I would say, between the growth or aim to growth and innovation?
Sure. So it's funny that you asked that about profitability. One of my board members is a serial entrepreneur. He's run several businesses that he's bootstrapped into tens of millions of dollars of revenue without taking a dollar outside capital. And he always jokes that there's some founders who just don't know how to make money. Almost any business can be profitable if the leaders actually know how to make money. And one of the things that a lot of founders really struggle with, they may be a visionary, they may have a great product, but their skill set is on the product or vision side, not on running a business side. And that's an important skill set. And if you are really introspective about yourself as a leader, you can say, look, I'm not great at running a business. I'm great at building a product. And so you hire someone who is actually good at running a business, because if, almost any business can be profitable if it's well run. You just need to find the people who actually know how to run a business well, which is a valuable skill set that many people underappreciate.
When you say this, Nick, like, what do you mean exactly? Is it like the sales skills? Is it like the marketing skills? What skills we're talking
No.
about?
So those are all elements. So you talked about profitability, right? Profitability basically boils down to revenues minus costs, backwards looking, and incremental return on investment forward looking.
Sure.
Those are a bunch of numbers, but how do you who knows those numbers? How do you analyze those numbers? Who actually can make those, make the revenue go up, the costs go down, and the incremental ROI go up? That's a skill set, right? Just like sales is a skill set, engineering is a skill set. And a lot of companies, unfortunately, especially younger companies, right, where you have a visionary founder who's really good at the product side, have not actually invested or brought on to someone who actually knows how to run a business, right? Large organizations, multi-billion-dollar organizations, they do actually have professional CEOs and professional CFOs and professional operating officers. Small companies don't, and they often should at a much, much earlier stage than they typically invest in professional business operators.
So they should be finance savvy in other sense, right?
Yeah, and finance is not accounting, by the way. I want to be very clear. A lot of people think that the finance department is an accounting person. No, a good finance arm is thinking about, are we making cost or return on investment decisions in our sales department, in our technology department, in our marketing department? And that's a very difficult but valuable analytical skill that, again, a lot of young organizations underinvest in. Right? They get an accountant or a CPA. They don't get a financial decision maker.
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing
In
this
fact,
in.
when a lot of VCs actually, yeah, one fun thing, a lot of the tier one VCs, the Kleiner Perkins of the world and so on, when they invest in technology companies, one of their requirements is you actually hire a professional CFO, right? It can't be the founder anymore, but somebody who actually knows how to run a business. That's actually a requirement for a lot of, good VCs. When they invest in you, they demand that you get a good financial team in place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Accounting team with financial team.
I'm very happy you are, putting these underlines about not accounting a finance. It took me years, to understand the difference myself also as well. So accounting, yeah, it's the basic things, right? Like, okay, this is, we bought it for this, like, but I mean, decisions. You need to understand the numbers to your point, and you need to understand, h- how things will affect. For example, if revenues goes up, like, this is how it will affect the business. If, for example, we do this, like, it's like more of a holistic view of the whole business, as you call it, and the whole company, that and I like how you mentioned, like, it drives us to take decisions what we should do next, right? So this is very, very important. I think, yeah, like, it's underrated in my opinion also as well. um from the SaaS business perspective, and because um you've done investments before also, so how you're seeing this, is like SaaS slowing any soon, or is it like still, up and running? How it's fast?
SaaS is still a really exciting business because there's something really deep and fundamental about software that people underappreciate, which is number one, software is actually three things. Number one, software on average makes fewer errors than human beings. That's really valuable to a business to not screw up or make mistakes. People make a lot of mistakes. People get tired, they get hungry, software doesn't. Number two, software is infinitely scalable, right? Whether your business is a 10-person business, 100,000 person business, software scales with you, whereas no individual does. Even if I'm the greatest, most hardworking individual, I still need sleep. Software can scale up with me, right? With my organization, whereas no human being, no matter how great they are, can scale up infinitely. The third is cost. People often talk about software as expensive, right? You may be paying $50,000 or $100,000 or $500,000 a year for software, but that takes the place of 10 and 5, 10, 50, 100, 1,000 people. And those 1,000 people are much, much more expensive. So software, though it seems it is often expensive, it is actually really cost effective for almost any organization, because it does things a lot more efficiently and cost effectively than people. So as long as these three fundamental forces are in place, lower error rate, more scalable, more cost effective, software has a lot of room to grow within organizations, taking the places of people, and replacing things that could be done better with technology.
100%, like, and because now one code that just I was checking it very quickly, so I don't code it in the wrong way. So Naval Ravikant, so he has a famous quote saying, "Competing without software is like competing without electricity," because everyone needs that software, right? And also he mentioned another one, like, you need to create something that can scale and that can make you money while you sleep. And exactly this is what you just mentioned also as well, like, yeah, because software businesses are the ones that people will rely on it. And if you're lucky enough to scale it, I mean, from not only numbers perspective, geography perspective, so people from all over the world. So while you're sleeping, for example, in Dubai, people in the US will be using your software, which is really fascinating, right? Um, so, you know, as we are almost coming to the end, Nick, today, what would be your final word of advice to fellow startup founders, especially in our times, or entrepreneurs in general? What you would tell them?
I'd say two things. Number one is make sure your product has a purpose, and that's both a longer vision purpose qualitatively as well as product market fit. Make sure your product is real and creates value for your customers, because if it doesn't, your business is not going to succeed no matter how long you try. That's number one. And that's a really difficult question to ask yourself when you're excited about your product, your vision. Does your product actually create value? The second is going back to that point about running a business well. Be introspective as a founder or a leader. This could be true of a multi-billion-dollar company. If you realize that your skill set is X, but you are missing skill set Y, go hire skill set Y. And that's true day one, right? Whether that be a CFO, whether that be you, a lot of founders rightfully make the decision that they're not going to be the CEO of a company. They're going to be the chief evangelist or chief product officer. And you're going to hire someone who's a professional CEO. That's okay. It hurts your ego sometimes, but it's the right decision. That's how you take your vision to the next level.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you. Like the ego sometimes is the killer, right? So yeah, and I always like advise people like accept it. It's better to have a co-founder that can complement your skills. So if you are a very strong technical, you might become the CTO, or as you said, like chief evangelist, whatever, and give the rest of the things to the guys who might be able to run the business the way it should be run. So 100%. Nick, where people can get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, there's three great ways to get in touch with us. Number one, you can go to ideascale.com and sign up for our software. It's entirely free for anybody who works for an organization with less than 100 people. So go sign up free. Second way is you can reach me on LinkedIn. My name is Nick Jain, and I'm usually the first result that pops in on LinkedIn anywhere in the world. The third is you can email me directly at nick.jain@ideascale.com.
Fantastic. I will make sure that all these addresses are available in the show notes and available also in the description if you are watching this on YouTube. Nick, really, I enjoyed the discussion with you today, and with one of the favorite topics that I always enjoy when I have guests like yourself with me, innovation and like edge technology and all this, and you are in the space of managing actually this innovation. So with the Innovate and IdeaScale, right? So I really enjoyed the discussion, and I hope also the audience will enjoy it as well. And this is how I end my episode. This is for the audience. If you just discovered this podcast for the first time, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, please subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. We are available on all podcasting platforms, and we are available also on YouTube. So give us this thumb up also as well. And if you are one of the people who keep coming and send me their recommendations and suggestions, thank you for doing so. I read them all. Keep them coming. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will be again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.